Hello and welcome to Veggie Lane. I'm Executive Chef Gretchen Hansen and this is my co-host Paula Kyle. On this week's program we're going to be creating some recipes that I think you and every member of your family will enjoy. These dishes will not only be amazingly tasty but also healthy. Don't tell the kids.
And my job is to ask those questions that we think you would be asking. We hope this information we give you will help you and your family enjoy delicious meals and help assist you in creating healthy food choices.
We're going to do two dishes, Paula. What we're going to do is a bowl dish that's a bean type of dish from India called Chana Masala. Now, Chana refers to the bean, and we're actually going to be using garbanzo beans, and the masala is the type of dish. So we're going to be using some exotic spices and different flavors that maybe people aren't that don't know that much about. But these are all things that you can get at your local grocery store. So we want to make it accessible, we want to make it simple, but we want to go out on a limb and maybe do something a little bit different than just the crock pot every Saturday night. So we're starting with a can of garbanzo beans here. I have an organic cans of garbanzo beans that we've just opened and put in the pan. We're letting the water evaporate and then we're going to start toasting those with some spices. We're also going to be making a dessert today and we're going to be doing tapioca but with a little bit of a Middle Eastern flair. So that's going to be exciting as well. Now what we're going to do to get started is I'm going to get you to cut up some kale and some butternut squash and some multicolored carrots for me. These are rainbow carrots. We like to cook with color, so we're going to be opening our butternut squash, which is a deep orange. We're going to be slicing our carrots, and we're going to be slicing our Jacinto kale, which everyone knows how good kale is for them.
Yes.
Meanwhile, over here, I'm going to start with this pan. I'm going to start toasting my garbanzo beans with a couple of different spices, and I'll explain what these spices are.
And do you want me to start doing this?
Sure,
now?
go ahead and start opening that butternut squash. You can cut it in half. It's already been cooked whole in the oven, so it's completely cooked through. And all we're going to do is just use the flesh out of it. We're going to remove the seeds.
All right.
Here's a spoon for you. Just pop that, go ahead. Pop those seeds back in the bowl here. And then we're going to scoop the flesh into the pan. Now what I'm doing is toasting these garbanzo beans. And I'm going to toast them with the spices I have here on my counter. I have a curry powder, which has heavy turmeric in it. Everyone knows what a superpower turmeric is. And I also have a cumin with a little bit of garam masala. Now both of these spices are available in your spice aisle. I know they seem exotic, but they're actually really, really easy to find. Meanwhile, I'm going to throw in some roasted garlic and some roasted onions. And what these are going to do is provide a little bit of oil for us as we work in the pan. And they're going to let our garbanzo beans toast in this pan. Now, as you give me that butternut squash.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yeah, start scooping it out and throwing it in the pan. There you go. That's also going to be working its way into the pan and getting those flavors melded into it. You see what we're working with? We're starting to toast the flavors of the butternut squash. Now, I'm going to actually, go ahead.
Okay, now tell me, you baked this butternut squash. For those of you who are not familiar with baking, what would be the temperature to bake this butternut squash at?
So I put a whole butternut squash in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. And then I take it out, throw it in the refrigerator, and I have it for the next day. I always have a back of about 2 or 3 squashes of different types in my refrigerator so that I'm never waiting for a squash to bake. So I've actually thrown a little bit of our cooked carrots. We already had some cooked. So we have a little bit of our rainbow carrots cooked. You're doing the butternut squash. I added a little bit of onion and garlic and the spices. And then next we're going to add the toasted kale. So we're going to slice some of the kale and throw that in. And I have some pre-cooked baby potatoes. Now these are tiny little Yukon Gold potatoes that I've already pre-steamed, which takes seconds. You can actually throw these in the microwave for a minute and a half. Cooks them up perfectly. Or you can just put them in a pot of boiling water, drop them in, about 5 minutes, strain them out, and they're done. Again, things like this, as long as you get them done in advance, you're going to see how quick this dish comes together. So I'm going to put these into toast along with some of the kale.
Is this the slicing? Or is that
so
the right
what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to slice it super thin. The thinner you slice it, the quicker it cooks. And also remember to keep your fingers out of the way of the knife. I always use my knuckle as a guide. There you go. See how thin that is?
Yes.
That's pretty kale.
Yeah.
And you can just throw that in. So all these are still toasting in the pan. And then I'm going to do the final step of this dish, which I know you can't believe that we're already at the final step, but I'm going to add a little bit of coconut milk and a little bit of roasted tomato. Now the roasted tomato, I use a Muir Glen roasted organic tomato. It's much easier than doing your own. I love this, love this, love this ingredient.
And you could get this at your local grocery store, either your
Absolutely.
Giant or your Safeway.
And then a can of organic coconut milk. So we're just gonna put a little organic coconut milk in. We're gonna let that go.
Do you want me to slice the carrots?
Yeah, slice the carrots. Go ahead and slice the carrots. And we're gonna start letting this warm and meld together. And while we're doing this, I'm going to get the other pan started with the tapioca.
All right. So you want these thin too, right?
Yes, super thin. Now remember, you want to keep your fingers out of the way of the knife. So put your fingers like almost like it's a claw. Like forget that you have that opposable thumb and just use it as a guide. All right? We call that the keep your fingers out of the way of the knife technique.
And am I doing this?
You're doing it exactly right. Yes, that's exactly right.
All right.
You're doing that great.
Okay.
Actually, really good. Excellent. Just keep that thumb
my
out of the
first
way.
time.
I know. You're doing such a great job. So while I'm working over here, I'm going to add my tapioca and start getting that ready for a pan. So I'm going to heat up just a little bit of water. I'm going to heat up a little bit of pomegranate juice.
And where do you get the pomegranate juice?
Just at the grocery store. Every ingredient that I got here is from the grocery store.
You know, these sound so exotic, and this is news to me.
know.
I didn't think you could get these at the grocery store.
But I'll tell you what's so exciting, Paula, is that now these ingredients are available in maybe the international food aisle, but they're becoming more and more commonplace. People are asking for things like unsweetened coconut milk. They're asking for organic beans. They're asking for really great cuts of kale. And if you can get these ingredients in a grocery store rather than go to maybe an exotic ethnic market, it makes it much easier to do things like this. Now we're going to take a little break and then we're going to get started on our tapioca next.
Sounds good.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late. Enroll, we say. We want you to be okay. Enroll, we say. Take care of people for goodness sake. There's a plan for every budget, so don't accept defeat.
Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options.
So Polly, what we're going to start now is we're going to start our tapioca, and we're going to put this in a pan with some water that we've heated up and some pomegranate juice. Now tapioca will cook in any sort of medium, but you want to make sure that it's not too rich a medium so it can absorb the water. Now we're going to use a very fine tapioca. I'm going to let you sprinkle this into the pan.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of it.
Just sprinkle?
Just sprinkle it in.
You know, I haven't had tapioca since I was about 7 years
All right,
old.
stop there. When you're at about a third of the volume of the liquid,
Yeah.
that's when you want to stop. So we're going to
Okay.
add just a wee bit more liquid back in here.
Okay.
It will absorb about 3 times its weight. And I'm going to slow down this Chana Masala over here. This is going like gangbusters. Can you smell that? I wish we had smell-o-vision going on here. It is really
Smells
going.
wonderful.
So this tapioca, we need to get this simmering, and we're going to add some different types of sweeteners. So we're going to add a tiny little bit of light brown sugar. Go ahead and put that in, and some whole organic blackberries.
my hands?
Just dump it.
Everything?
Yeah, everything. Go.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, rock and roll. There you go. And now I'm going to put a pinch of agave nectar in. And I always just take the top off. It's so much easier to control. Now, notice how small an amount of agave nectar that is. It's probably about a teaspoonful.
And why would you use that instead of sugar?
Regular sugar?
Yes.
The thing I love about this is it's unprocessed, and this is organic. It's actually made from the same plant that you make tequila from. So what could be bad about that? But it's an unprocessed sugar, so really low amounts doesn't make your hypoglycemic index rise and spike and fall.
Okay.
So we used an unprocessed brown sugar, organic brown sugar, a little pinch of this, and then I'm going to use something a little bit more exotic again. And now again, these are available on your grocery store aisle now in the international section. This is pomegranate molasses, and I'm going to add just a tiny little teaspoon of that too. Now, if you don't have pomegranate molasses in your grocery store, add a pinch of lemon juice. Pomegranate molasses tastes like pomegranate with a pinch of lemon. It's got a slightly sour flavor. And while we're doing this, we're just going to stir this up. I'm going to actually let you stir that. And I'm going to throw a little more water in here. There you go. And we're going to let that simmer. Smash your blackberries while you're at it. You want to get that blackberry juice in. See how easy this is? The nice thing about this dessert is it's taking tapioca, which, let's face it, most of us have not had in years and years. When was the last time you had tapioca, right?
7. I was 7.
Right, or bubble tea or something like that. So it's taking tapioca and it's taking it to a new level. And this, of course, is the bean stew, and taking it to a new level, creating new and exciting flavors that are not too different, that maybe your family will go like, ooh, I don't want to try that. But tapioca, who says no to tapioca,
Okay,
really?
well, here's a real dumb question. Is tapioca a grain?
Well, it's actually made out of cassava. So no, it's not actually grain, but it's made out of a grain.
Okay.
So we're using the fine tapioca pearls here, and you can get tapioca at any grocery store. Again, just get the old-fashioned tapioca. And we're cooking that in a 1-to-3 ratio of 1 part tapioca to 3 part liquid, and just letting that simmer and absorb the flavors of the fruit and the juice and the pomegranate molasses.
And tell me why tapioca is good for you.
Well, it's different for one thing, so our kids might like it. Everyone has a craving for a sweet tooth, right?
Yes.
So anytime you're answering the craving to that sweet tooth without using processed sugar and without using processed white flour, you're doing a good thing. Now, we want to avoid as much as possible anything that uses a processed sugar or processed flour in our cooking. And as you know, we've done that. There's no processed flours or processed sugars here. Everything we've used that from a can or a bottle is organic. And as close to the source as it's possible to be. But let's be realistic. You can't come home and cook for 2 hours. It's not going to happen. You come home, you have a hungry family, you want to take 30, 40 minutes max to get food on the table, if that even.
Really?
So what we've done here is we've created a whole dinner. Now, if you put some rice in your steamer and had rice to throw this bean stew over, especially a brown rice, that's an incredibly healthy, balanced vegan meal that you can put on your family's table, and they're gonna love it. So we're gonna take a quick break, let these finish up their cooking process, and come back and taste what we've done.
we help you help. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Right, mi cariño. So like I said, everything I learned about cooking, I learned from Grandma's empanadas. Shall we go again?
Yep.
Mix beef with the onions with the peppers with the paprika with the garlic with the oregano with the cumin. Got it?
Got it.
Throw on the olives, stir, season, stir again, pour out the flour, roll out the dough, make a circle, drop in a fistful of filling, fold over, press down, and ta-da!
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
So what we have now is we have both pans bubbling away, and that's where we wanted to be. We wanted them to be in the cooking process when we go into this last step. So this process here is going to take about another 10 minutes to complete, maybe 15, but no more than that.
Once you put all the ingredients
Once you get all the ingredients in the pan, you set them on low, and then you go pour yourself a glass of wine, get the kids ready for dinner, set the table, call your partner, do what you need to do to get yourself in the right mindset to enjoy a great family meal. Now, everyone always asks why I use these rubber spatulas instead of spoons. Well, first of all, my pans are expensive and I don't want to ruin them. So anytime you use metal against a nonstick surface, it's going to do that. I also am cooking at a very, very slow rate, and these are heat-resistant spatulas. We're also cooking in a way that causes things to stick to the pan. So rather than scrape metal against metal, I'm moving these with rubber heat-resistant spatulas. I actually love these. They work so well with this kind of dish, a slow meld cooking process.
And now, why do you prefer these non-stick pans?
Well, they work best on this kind of electric surface or an induction surface. When I'm actually in my own restaurant where I'm working with fire, which I love a lot, I don't use nonstick at all. But on a electric top, I always use a nonstick because you want to cook very, very quickly and be able to control the process. And what I've noticed is so many more home stoves now are electric that it makes sense for me to demonstrate the way people would actually be cooking in their own homes.
Yes.
So we're at the place now that we can actually taste some of our finished ingredients. And if you notice, I did dress up the plate a little bit. Don't feel intimidated that you have to do this, but we put a big bowl of the Chana Masala with the carrots and the potatoes and a little bit of cilantro and some of the frizzled kale that we used, and that's got the coconut milk and the garbanzo bean base, cumin, turmeric, curry. All those exotic flavors are now in one bowl. So this would be enough to serve about 4 people.
Okay.
As you can see in this pan.
Can I taste it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. You made it. You taste the cumin?
That's fantastic.
Thanks. They're really
so
good, right?
Good.
So it's so simple once you start to toast your ingredients to really get some flavor punched into that. So many people make the mistake of just putting all the seasonings in a pot of bubbling something, whatever they're using, without actually toasting them and releasing those aromatic oils. So that's what we did different. So when we do some more shows, I'm going to show you different ways to toast grains, different ways to toast beans, all sorts of different things to do to infuse flavor in from the very beginning.
Oh yeah, well you really feel that infusion of flavors, and it's very rich, and it seems like it's something that it would have taken much longer than 20 minutes. I'm absolutely amazed at how delicious this is. And how simple.
There's absolutely no point in making boring food. Nobody's going to want to eat it. This is exciting food, and it makes you happy.
That's good for me to know, because I'm being a vegan. To me, I make some brown rice and steam some vegetables.
Right. And that to me is health food. And as a chef, and being a vegan myself as well, as a chef, the last thing I want to do is eat food that tastes boring. I want to eat food like this that's completely exciting, that makes my taste buds pop up and go, wow. Now, you didn't taste the tapioca, which I think is super exciting and different. Especially note the slight hint of the pomegranate molasses, which has such lovely flavors to it. Not too much sugar, not too much sweet, bright and lively flavors that make you...
Little tang.
Little tang on the backside.
Little tang, not too sweet.
No unprocessed sugars. Right, right. So that's where we're leading towards when we make these kind of dishes. Dishes that are easy. You can even get your family involved. You can get everyone working together to make these kind of meals for a family event.
And it's low fat, isn't it?
Sure, low fat, low calorie. I mean, if you wanted to make it less calories, you would take out the coconut milk of the garbanzo bean chana masala. But other than that,
what would you put instead of the coconut milk?
I wouldn't. I would add just maybe a little bit of veggie base to add a little bit more bulk to it.
Okay.
But then you don't have to add anything instead of the coconut milk. I find that the coconut milk makes it extremely satisfying.
Yes, it's very rich.
But if you're on a low-fat diet or you have heart disease and you want to eliminate the fats from your diet, you would take out that coconut milk and just do the saute in a dry pan rather than use oil. So many people are following a no-oil diet right now with congenital heart disease, that's a good option with this dish. And of course, this dish had no fat in it whatsoever.
Oh my God, and it tastes like it's extremely rich, and it tastes caloric, but it's not.
It was very, very good for you without adding the animal products into it. So I wanted to introduce you to my style, my way of cooking that I do in my restaurant, about how we add flavors into the dish in the very, very beginning. You get one chance to put the flavor inside the dish. Anything after that is just coating the outside surfaces of the vegetables or the grains. So you have one chance to infuse them. So as we're toasting, we're infusing those flavors, infusing that curry, infusing that cumin, infusing that turmeric and chana masala and garam masala and all those different flavors in. And then you notice that we used all the colors of the rainbow here. We have reds and oranges and greens and oranges and browns and reds and lots of colors. And we want to make sure that when we're eating entirely plant-based, that we add all the different flavors and all the different colors into each dish so we get balanced antioxidants and balanced nutrition. So we have a complete nutrition here. We can also take our steamer, put this over brown rice, and we have the rice, we have the beans, we have a nutritionally complete meal.
Now tell our viewers why you prefer brown rice to white rice.
Well, that's a very complicated question for a very short amount of time, but what I will tell you is anytime that you can get unprocessed, you want to get as least amount of processing as you possibly can. So anytime you're buying a polished or a parboiled or a pre-cooked white rice, you're buying a rice that has had basically everything taken out of it, and everything has been processed, and all you're buying is fluff and filler. You want to buy anything as organically as possible with the wheat and the chaff and the hull and everything still intact, which most of that is brown rice. Now you can get some really crazy, wonderful, exotic brown rices to use. Super exciting stuff. We'll be doing some of those on our next segment.
Well, I'm just absolutely thrilled with the flavors of these two dishes, and they were so incredibly simple. I can't wait to go home and try this on my own. It is just, this is so rich, and that's just the right amount of sweetness, and both of them, they're gourmet comfort foods. That's what they taste like.
That's exactly what they taste like.
Gourmet comfort foods.
We would love for you to look at more of our recipes and more of our shows. You can find me at my website. Gretchen Hansen is at myhobos.com. I'm executive chef and owner of Hobos Restaurant and Bar.
I hope you enjoyed Veggie Lane as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Until next time, I'm Paula Kyle, and this is Chef Extraordinaire Gretchen Hansen. We look forward to seeing you again.